Om Shanti. So we have, it's very fortunate to for all of us today to have Gayatri Ben with us, and Gayatri Ben in knowledge since I'm sure since 50 years. Gayatri Ben, is it true?
Not really. I've been about 46 years.
46 years.
Even though, but 45, because I came in 1975. So it will be 4 to 5 years.
Okay, 45 years. And plus in dedication since 40 years. I think so. You were the Galaben and yourself were the first Baba's dedicated sister in New York.
Well, Caliban came after. She came in 1982.
Okay.
And in New York, I came in 1978.
Yeah.
So then afterwards she came. So it's a long history.
Yeah, wonderful. Very, very interesting history, in fact.
Yeah.
And Gayatri Ben, Baba's Lokik father, Steve Naraine brother, Steve Naraine, which is, they are famous to be called as uncle auntie of Yagya, the whole Yagya's uncle auntie. And they are the only one uncle auntie of the Yagya. And uncle auntie of Shiv Baba also. Is it true? Baba also used to call them uncle auntie. So sister had been, that's the fortune to have the sustenance of Shiv Baba, the Parlokik father, Brahma Baba, Dadis, and Lokik father also. So it's beautiful journey, and been doing, Gayatri Ben has been doing very wonderful services, Baba's powerful instrument, and the best services since 1980 in United Nations. We have the Brahmakumaris representation. So it had started with the consultative status, and today it's the general consultative status. So how the services are being done till today, and how the journey has been, it's a unique experience the sister has for us, you have for us. So let's, today you'll be opening all your treasures to all of us. So Gayatri Ben, this is, we are at present 75 login, but then families are also there, so it should be around 90 almost, because everyone has the family also who are sitting together. And in fact, it is a good gathering of Greta Kailash too. A branch Siri Fort has recently opened, and Siri Fort also. So there are two centers, and of course, the brothers and sisters, Brahmin family from different parts of the country, like Bombay, Maharashtra, Calcutta, and plus all the Brahmins who have been abroad at present, and they are connected to our center. Like there are Brahmins from Silicon Valley, US, Canada, China. So all are listening to you. And would be getting inspired very soon.
Right.
So it's an international an international platform.
Well, Om Shanti.
Delhi Darbar.
Huh?
And welcome back to Delhi Darbar, your future kingdom.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm here with the Brahmin family. So let's just be here in the moment with the family. So first of all, let me tell you, I'm in New York and I am at Peace Village, which is the retreat center of Baba's Retreat Center in upstate New York. And it's in the valley of a mountain. And the mountain range is called the Catskills Mountain. And so it's very beautiful here, but right now we're 10:13 at night and it's raining. It's raining a lot. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the internet stays stable, because when it rains here, the internet gets affected. But let's see what happens. But right now it's very good. And so when Sangeeta Ben called me and asked me to talk to all of you, I felt that rather than a talk, it will be more a sharing with all of you, because at this time, the family, I think, even though you can't go to the center, I think the family is actually moving closer and closer because of being together on the different platforms, and this one being Zoom. It allows us to see each other in our little frames, and it also allows us to be together at different points of time. I know here in New York, ever since Daddy Janki left the body on March 27th, Sister Mohini has been taking evening classes every single evening she hasn't missed one. And that is an incredible thing to do. And she has, in the evenings, there are about 1,500 people average that would come on the call. And what it shows is that people are looking for the community to come together, for the family to come together, and they're looking for ways to connect. And so this social distancing actually brought out very clearly to us that as human beings, as Brahmins, our foundational nature is to connect, is to be together, is to be a family. And before we may think, you know, I want to be in isolation and I want to be in solitude and I want to be by myself. And now that drama is saying, okay, be by yourself, there's social distancing, go self-quarantine if you want. We don't want to do that. We want to connect. So here are hundreds of people every evening connecting to hear Sister Mohini. So that's the first thing I find is incredible, that the strong desire to connect at a time that the drama is saying, you know, be by yourself, you have permission, and to be in self-quarantine if you want to. Now, I'm just checking with you, Sangeeta Ben. I am assuming everyone understands English?
Yeah, everyone understands English.
You don't need translation, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Sister Sangeeta also asked me to share a little bit about my history of coming to Baba, and you know, how I ended up in New York and how I ended up being at the UN. But the thing is, the connection, talking about connection, my first connection with India actually was with the South Extension Center. Now, Sister Mohini, whom all of you know and all of you love, she came to Guyana, where my parents took knowledge and where we were all very young. And Sister Jayanti came first. And then after Sister Jayanti, Sister Mohini came. And after Sister Mohini, Daddy Gulzar came. So the first Daddy that I ever knew was Daddy Gulzar. And so she came and she spent about a month with us in Guyana. And so we had a very friendly relationship with her. At that time, she was young. And of course, she was very beautiful. She still is. And she actually was then Baba's rat. She was Baba's, you know, chariot, Abyak Bapdada. But she came and she spent that time with us. And I think what she did was to draw us close to the Yagya, because when she was there, she was the one who said to my parents, why don't you come to India? Why don't you come and visit Mount Abu? So my father was going off to Moscow, I think at that time, to Russia, for a government conference. And he was going to go through India. So then he offered all of us to say, would you like to come and meet Baba? And we all said yes. So he brought most of us, there's 6 of us, and I think we all came except except 2. So 4 of us, and a couple of my cousins and my mother's sister. And so we came to Madhuban, and but when we were in Delhi, when we arrived in Delhi, it was the monsoons, it was the month of August. And they told us that the dams, the roads were all washed away and we couldn't go up the mountain, so we couldn't visit. So, you know, there was a disappointment because you really didn't know where you were going. You really didn't know what to expect, but it was the anticipation to get there. And so we went up one night. It was in the middle of the night that we actually went up. So we didn't see that there were no roads at that time to go up to Mount Tabu. It was all earth, it was all mud. And of course it was raining, so it was really dangerous. There were no, you know, barriers to stop yourself from falling off the mountains. That only happened later. And so everything was exposed, everything was rustic, everything was, you know, just mountains. And so when we went up the mountain, we didn't know, it was all dark. And when we arrived, it was only Pandav Bhavan. So then when we arrived in Pandav Bhavan courtyard, there was Didi, there was Daddy G, there was Daddy Gulzar, and the seniors. I think there was a senior meeting of the seniors happening. So there was Brother Ramesh, there was Brother Brij Mohan, there was Brother Jagdish, they were all there, and Brother Nirwar, of course. And we're looking at all of them, and the only one we recognize, of course, is Daddy Gulzar. Everybody else, they were like these strange faces, but very, very beautiful people. And it was amazing when we arrived in the courtyard of Madhuban. Didi, I remember Didi with this, someone had a tray of rose petals and she took these rose petals and she was showering it on us and rose water. And I said, what? It's not, you know, it appeared so surreal. It appeared as though it was real, but it wasn't real. And I know that arriving there, looking at all their faces, that moment, I think, imprinted on my heart forever, because it truly felt as though we had come home. We had arrived home. And of course, because we were all so, the food was different. And you know, the Indian spices and the taste you have to get accustomed to. Daddy Kumarka in particular would go out of her way to make us eat the food, and she would do it with such love. And you know, she would coax us to eat the food. She would make all kinds of variety of things. And I think it was one of the first times they actually baked bread in Madhuban, because they had chapatis, but what they call as double roti or bread was the first time they were beginning to do that. So, you know, our first entry into Madhuban had been an amazing one, had been one that left an impact that is like an indelible, a very deep impact on our hearts that we could never forget. And we experienced that as a family. And then also that year of 1976, when we went to Madhuban, it was the year that Baba had said he wasn't going to come to meet the children, because, you know, I know that was also the year that they thought a lot of destruction would have happened. And, but then when we got there, we said to Daddy Gulzar that we wanted to meet Baba. And so she said, oh, but Baba isn't coming. And I said, well, you told us to come and meet Baba, so we're here to meet Baba. So she took us to Baba's room, which was very small at that time. Now it's extended, they've extended it. So it was really small. And we were all sitting there as a family. And then she went up into trance. And then she came back and she said, Baba said he wasn't going to come to meet you. So we all got really disappointed and said, well, how can he not come to meet us? And we came all the way across the 7 seas and he wasn't going to come to meet us. What's going on? And then she says, well, this is what he said. And of course, she saw the disappointment on our faces. And I remember my sister was there and she said to Daddy, well, Daddy, who has more love? Baba for the children or the children for Baba? And then the next day was Thursday, and then she went to offer bhog, and then she said to us, Baba said he will come to meet you that evening. And lo and behold, as soon as Baba came, it was only us, and it was Madhubaniwasis, and there were very few of them. And so as soon as Baba came, the first thing he asked us, after giving a short murli, meeting with the seniors, and then he called us as a family. And the first thing he asked us was, so who has more love? The children for the father or the father for the children?
The same.
But yeah, it was like he heard everything. But you know, for me, what was lovely was as I was taking drishti from Avyak Bap Dada, and that was in 1976, August, as I sat there, it was in the history hall that we met him. And I sat there and I'm taking drishti from him. It was exactly the same feeling I had when I would remember him in his room back in Guyana. And so I said, wait, and remember that same being that I connected to as Baba through the picture of Brahma Baba in Guyana was exactly the same feeling I was getting now that I was with him in Madhuban. And then for me, I realized that it was that same Baba. The Baba was the same. And I felt that it wasn't just me. I think we all had that feeling. So what got established in our intellects was that faith. Now, it's an interesting thing to ponder or to reflect on. Is faith in the intellect something that the more I study, the more I will get that faith? Is it something that happens within a second? So you would be in front of Baba, you would be taking drishti, and all of a sudden something happens in the soul. And in this instance, something happened in the intellect. And in that intellect, the faith got instilled, and that faith.
Sorry. Mm. Mm.
Right. So I think that was one of the first experiences of having faith in Baba. Actually, is something that occurs when you're taking drishti from him, and it is something that goes beyond, the intellect grasping the knowledge. It is even beyond the knowledge. Now, once that gets established, then what happens is that the intellect becomes the vessel to receive the knowledge. And so, we always had these conversations. Is faith something that results from the knowledge that you have, or is faith something that gets established through a relationship that you have with Baba, and within a second it occurs in your life, and then it leaves that very deep connection and relationship with him that allows the intellect to then understand the knowledge, understand what he's saying to the soul. So that for me was very, very, I was very lucky. That was my fortune, that my intellect opened at the time that I was in front of Baba. And that was in 1976. And then, of course, I came and I went back, actually, to Guyana. And then in 1978, I came to New York. Sister Mohini wanted someone to come stay with her, because she left Guyana and came to New York, and then she wanted someone to be here with her. And I was at that time in Canada, and so she says, could you come and stay? And so that was like, the rest is history, because I came and I'm still here. I never left. And so during that time, as you heard, in 1980, I started doing service at the UN. Now that was like another miracle. I had gone back to Guyana for 6 months, and there was a sister here, her name is Chiria, and she's American, and she went into the United Nations and collected the forms because at that time, and still is, you could, as a non-governmental organization, apply to the UN for accreditation. So she did that, and she started filling out the forms, but never completed them. And she left them in a filing box in the center. And then when I came, she went off to the West Coast. She went off to California. And I was going through the boxes one day and clearing up the filing in the boxes, and I came across the forms. And what I did was I completed the forms and I took them in and, you know, filed the application. And then what happened was we got accredited. It was within a month that that accreditation happened. And so then Sister Mohini and I went in to meet the woman. Her name was Sally Swing Shelley. And she was an American woman, and she headed up the area of the accreditation office. And then I asked her, I said, what made you, what made the group of people, because it had to be a committee of people who would approve the applications, what made you approve us? And she says, well, I approved you all because of two things. One, we were looking for organizations outside of the United States. And secondly, we were looking for organizations that are administered by women who have had women as their administrative heads. So she says, this is why we said yes to your organization. And so once we got into the UN, then I saw service on a completely different level. It made a lot of sense to me because I think service is still a lot of one-on-one, helping people to change their minds. And now service is very much focused on mindsets, changing your mind, changing your thoughts, thinking positive, doing this. But when I went to the UN, I realized what Baba said when he said that this is a knowledge for the universe. This is knowledge. This is a body of knowledge that addresses everything, including personal transformation. And so being at the UN, the first thing that happened was that I had to adjust myself from being an individual to being an organization. Because at the UN, when you speak, you don't speak from an individual capacity. I can't say this is my personal experience and this is what I personally feel. But what I have to say is on behalf of the organization, this is what it is. And so I was talking about knowledge of how it applied to women. I was, empowerment of women, development of women, growth of women, peace in women. I was talking about knowledge in relation to human rights. I was talking about knowledge in relation to the youth, to young people, because there was that young, and then you would have also heard about when we had the 1,000,000 Minutes of Peace appeal. So we had to take the knowledge and put it within the context of peace being universal, and peace, of course, being the religion of the soul. But how can peace be brought into relationships, not just interpersonal relationships, but how can peace be seen as something at a community level, at a national level? So, gradually we built our reputation at the UN being an organization that functioned by principles that these principles were creating a new system and a new culture. And today, I hope that isn't lost, because what Baba actually has done is that he says, I've come to create a completely new way of living. And this is the distinction between meditation and Raj Yoga. Meditation is a practice. Raj Yoga is a way of life. So if I talk about meditation as just my mind, I'm losing out on the wholeness of soul consciousness. And so when I talk about Raj Yoga as a way of life, it takes me beyond just thinking, and it takes me into the understanding, the fullness of the understanding. And why that is important for us at the UN is because in the UN Charter, it states that one of the reasons for the UN is to reaffirm the dignity and worth of the human person. Another one says that all human beings are born free and equal, endowed with reason and conscience. So now these are things that constitute soul consciousness. It is not just wars begin in the minds of men. So it will be within the minds of men that the constructs of peace have got to be established. Now that is when you're dealing with thoughts, when you're dealing with the mind. And so when we were doing the Million Minutes, we were working with a lot of high-level people around the world. One of them was Lord Ennals, who has now passed. A lot of these people have passed. And when we talked about peace is a state of mind, I remember him saying, no, that is not what your founder is teaching you. Peace is not just a state of mind. Peace is the religion of the soul. So it was very different, you know, peace is your swadharma as opposed to peace of mind. And so I think that for me, I have throughout my whole Brahmin life, serving at the UN and serving in the United States of America has really allowed me, in a way, to push the boundaries of consciousness from just the mind to the whole soul, and from the soul to understand that really to get in touch with people from different religions, people from different cultures, people from different parts of the world, nations. You really do have to push the boundaries of consciousness. And you can't allow soul consciousness to bring you into one religion. And this is why I'm saying, I hope that uniqueness of Baba's knowledge stays as it is, as the way he wanted it, to include the whole world, to include all souls, the whole tree. You know, one of the most beautiful images that we have is the tree, in which you have the entire humanity connected to one seed. And I hope we just don't fall into just one specific religion, because we don't really belong to any religion. We belong to, you know, to a spiritual path that Baba has come. And so I will end with this. I was being interviewed 2 days ago, and as you could see, I have a picture of Baba behind me, and I really love that picture. And below that is the word love. And last year, Daddy Janki had come to Peace Village. He had visited New York, and my birthday happened to be in May. So when she came, she gave me that as a birthday gift, that word love. And so I put it there. So when the person was interviewing me, she interviewed 21 people, and I was the last. And she said, oh, you have a picture of Brahma Baba, of your founder, behind you. Do you want to keep it there? None of the others had pictures of Brahma Baba. You're the only one who had it. And so what do you want to do? Do you want to say something about him? I said, well, yes, I'm not going to remove the picture, but I would say something about him if you ask. So then when she asked me about Baba, I remember saying 2 things about him that I'm so proud. I said it when I first went to Madhuban, and I will say it again, is that he was one of the visionaries that had an extraordinary vision to share with the world. He wasn't just a visionary. He was someone with a vision that was so inclusive. It isn't a vision that marginalized people or separate people. It included everyone. And I always thought that maybe that's why he was in Hyderabad, Sindh, when Baba came into his body and made him an instrument. So because he included everything in the way he saw things. So the visionary part of him was extraordinary. But the other thing about Baba is that he let his life speak. Baba was never one to lip service anything. He never said anything and you turn around and say, well, Baba, how did you do this? Because before he said it, it was incorporated, it was integrated in his life. So when he said it, his life spoke it. It wasn't his lips. God didn't use his mouth to give gyan. God used his life to give gyan. So knowledge was spoken through his life. And the second thing I shared was that Brahma Baba, he was the genius of a heart. So everything he did filtered through his heart. And that was why he said to us ultimately that, children, if you want to know the truth, look into the mirror of your heart. Because when we look into the mirror of the heart and we saw the truth, it was only then that the path opened up for us to walk. Because if we just kept it in our intellects, the truth wouldn't have opened up the path. And so, of course, our path is up to Shiv Baba. It's the pilgrimage of remembrance. And that requires a high level of a truth that is only recognized through the heart. And so Brahma Baba also had the genius of the heart. And so I will end on that, and then you can ask me questions now because it's getting on time here. So I will stop talking and have you ask me questions. You have to unmute yourself, Sangeeta.
So it was wonderful to listen. I think so. We never even, you didn't mention this when we used to meet in Sri Fort. With all the whole history, though we used to listen from Uncle Auntie many times.
Yeah.
Your history is your history, your experience. So as you said that Brahma Baba's special qualities you very rightly mentioned. And we will hear from you some more of that Gyan also. And particularly, Didi is also sharing with you right now, as you said, that beautiful classes and the experiences of Yagya, that phase is going on.
Mm-hmm.
So because nowadays we are listening the Murlis of 1985, so of 83 onwards, and Baba had many times mentioned the General Secretary Robert Mueller, Assistant General Secretary, United Nations and all. They had come to meet Baba after the conference. I hope you recall all this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So like you used to meet as far as the services part. So when you used to meet these all dignitaries, so they would take Baba's knowledge, they will come to meet Baba, so they become child, or it was just a meeting, how all this service part in the United Nations, how it's carried out, how it was carried out also.
Yeah, well, service carries the same, I think the same kind of approach, is that Baba always taught us to serve people. So the way we serve at the UN is that you attend meetings. First of all, you choose the areas you want to focus on, and then you attend the meetings in relation to those areas. And then in attending the meetings, you would meet people. And so there are a few things you would do then. You would meet the people, you would serve the people. The second is that you would be given a chance to give a statement, either an oral statement or a written statement, but you would be given that chance. And so this is how you serve at the UN. And of course, you have to also attend their conferences. So they had many, many world conferences. And you have to prepare for those conferences. You have to know what they're saying. You have to see how the BKs fit into it. You have to see what are the aspects of Baba's knowledge that you will bring to that. Now, once you're clear in what is it that Baba is saying and how it matches what the UN is saying, and you create your statements, that clarity is there in terms of your statement, then what would happen is that you would meet these individuals. Now, one of the people, as I said earlier on, Sally Swing Shelley, we met her after becoming accredited to the Department of Public Information, and then we invited her to Madhuban. And at that time, all the events, most of the events used to happen in Delhi because of Jagdish Bhai. And there was an event that was happening at the Red Fort. And she was there for that. It was a huge exhibition with floats and everything on the road, on the streets, and then this big exhibition there. So she came for that. But one of the things we used to make sure is that we took them to Madhuban. Now, she was very interested in the way women ran the organization. She wanted to find out how this organization got so big with under the leadership of women, under the women running it. So she went and she met the daddies, and she was absolutely amazed at how simple the daddies were, but their spiritual power was what was making the organization run. So she was very clever to pick that up. And so she also met Bap Dada. And then when Baba spoke to her, and when she came back to the UN, she called together a group of people of about 200 people. And then she shared her experience of being in Mount Abu. And then what she did, she pulled out, because we had given her a typed copy of what Baba said to her, and she pulled that out and she read it. She says, "This is what the Brahmakumaris God said to me." And then what she said also, their God comes in a woman's body.
Okay.
And she said it to everybody. You know, I wouldn't say that, but she did. And she said it with such respect. Now, that's the way they used to be served, in which we used to expose them to the heart of the yagya. Because when they connected to the heart of the yagya, they then became mics.
Right.
Right? If they weren't connected to the heart of the yagya, then they couldn't impact others in what they said. And the same with Robert Muller. When Daddy Janki met Robert Muller, immediately there was this connection. And when Robert Muller connected to her, what he had a dream that there was a place in the world which was a spiritual organization, which only taught spirituality. And when he heard that we were called the Brahmakumaris World Spiritual University, he says, "Oh, I had this dream." And he wanted to go. And he was a great believer that we could really develop the aspect of the university, the learning part of it. And I think that was when Jagdish Bhai was also thinking along the lines of the wings. And of course, when Robert Muller came, he came at the inauguration of Om Shanti Bhavan.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we did Gyan Sarovar and the Academy for a Better World. And with the Academy of the Better World, that was when the whole idea of the wings came in, and how we can serve professionals and how we could do it like a university style. So Robert Muller came because he was interested in that. Now, that's another thing, is that with the internet and with the promotion of individuals from the Brahmakumaris, we're losing the power of the headquarters, which is where the spiritual power is. And when people go to the headquarters, they are able to see the real spiritual power, which they're not going to be able to see just by individuals speaking.
Right.
But that was always our aim, to bring people from the UN to the headquarters, expose them to the core of our spiritual strength, which was Bap Dada at that time, and to all the senior daddies. And so they came back with that strength, and then they helped us to move with the BKs. Now, this year, the UN is celebrating its 75th anniversary, and it's on shutdown, it's on lockdown, like everything else. But they're asking us to do something, and what we're doing is that we are creating a program to involve the young people and to do what we're calling it, United Youths, or Youths Unite on Yoga Day. And so we're going to have them all, youths from 13 to 18, and then from 19 to 30, 2 sets of youths, to prepare meditation commentaries for 3 minutes, a little bit like last week's Murli, when Baba says, let them speak for 3 minutes. And then we're going to have them, 75 of those youths from 75 countries, do a 24-hour meditation commentary. And they're offering us a platform that they have to do it. But we could also, I'll be talking to the technical people to see how best to do it. Now, they want that for the UN. The other thing that is happening for International Day of Yoga, and this is outside the Indian government, this is just by the organizations at the UN, is to do an online conference connecting yogic values to the spirit of the UN. How do yogic values work within the context of the UN? So we're going to have that doing it, because I'm the vice chair of the international committee, the yoga committee at the UN. So we have to come together and we do things. And this is from the people's side, not the government. This year, the UN cannot have, the government cannot have any, the Indian government cannot have any event at the UN because it's shut down because of the lockdown and the COVID-19 and stuff like that. So this is how we work at the UN all the time. And we've been getting a lot of organizational success. The Brahmakumaris, I think the Brahmakumaris as Brahmakumaris became famous at the UN internationally.
Exactly.
Before it was Raj Yoga Center. And then when we became affiliated to the UN, we then became the Brahmakumaris, yeah.
Mm. It's a very different, special platform people see us when it is affiliated to the United Nations, when we mention that as an organization.
Because we had to go through a lot of scrutiny. It's not that we just got it like that. It's like 18 governments from around the world had to scrutinize our organization, including our finances. And then I had to go in front of a panel of those 18 governments and answer questions. And so it wasn't, they just took us in, but they really looked, checked us out then to make sure that we fulfill the criteria. So when people say, oh, you're at the UN and think it's easy, it's really not easy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because all governments won't agree to what you're doing. I don't think we would get it if we go now.
Yeah.
It might be hard for us to get it, but then it was easier, yeah.
So we are the only spiritual organization in the United Nations, or there are many others also?
No, there are others. They're the Baha'is. The Baha'is are spiritual.
Okay, they are also. And lastly, 10 minutes, we would like to hear any inspiration, the Pusharat you're making, and Didi has been sharing wonderful history also of the yagya and the classes also. So anything which you are been doing and which you suggest now?
For us, I don't know in India what you're doing, but I always say that, we have to stop being caterpillars and we have to become butterflies. Now, there's a difference between a caterpillar and a butterfly, which we know, and in the middle, there's the chrysalis. A caterpillar cannot become a butterfly unless it goes into the chrysalis, right? And, but caterpillars eat grass. Butterflies take nectar from the flowers. And so I think we are in a very interesting transition. And I think we should be aware of it. When Daddy Janki became Abyak, when Daddy Janki ascended on March 27th, there was a major subtle shift in the Brahmakumaris. Because what happened is that Daddy Gulzar was declared the head of the organization. And so if you look at what is happening here, is that we moved from sound to silence. Daddy Gulzar is the embodiment of silence. She's not saying a word. And Drama and Baba put her there as our administrative head. And so I think it is a signal for all of us caterpillars who are on the internet, who are on Zoom, who are really looking at all these platforms and talk, sound, noise, to go into our chrysalis, because Daddy Gulzar is in her chrysalis, because the next wave of service is going to be different. So right now, what we are being signaled, and we should pick the signal up, is to spend more time in tapasya, to spend more time in Baba's, exploring what is it that Baba has really come to show. What is this method that will transform us and transform the world? And that's yoga. Yoga directly with Baba. So this is what Sister Moni has been pushing us toward. She was saying, spend more time, because we are still in self-quarantine. We cannot go out. So we have to stay here. We have to wear masks. I'm in my bedroom. That's why I don't have my mask on. But as soon as I leave the door, I have to put my mask on. So to go into this, we are doing very early morning meditations, like at 3 o'clock, and we're exploring this. The other is the needs of people from us here in the US. And the needs of people from us is that, you know, the United States of America have done it all. You know, you have the Oprah Winfrey's, you have all these guru kind of images of people, you know, who have become celebrities. And so Deepak Chopra, you know, Sadhguru, they're all, you know, having impact here in the United States. And what we're finding is people don't want to hear anymore. They've heard too much, but what they want is to experience something in silence that transforms them. Because they say their minds are still working a lot, but they want to go back to the deep spirituality of things that would transform them. And so we have a brother who is a doctor, and he's working with one of the medical people who is a frontliner, who is on the front line, and to really create something that would instantly give people an experience of God without them having to go through a lot of knowledge. And so that's another level that we have been working at, preparing ourselves for the next wave of service. And Sister Mohini has been kindling the relevance. You see, what is happening now is that we are facing the whole world, including the UN, including the Brahmakumaris, including individuals. We are facing what is called relevance. Are we still relevant? And if we are still relevant, in what way? And so in looking at this, Sister Mohini is bringing us back to our roots. And the roots are the Yagya soul, our ancestor souls. And so she's done a whole series on that, in which she reintroduced us back to all those ancestor souls. Because why? The ancestor souls are now doing the work between the Iron Age and the Golden Age. They're doing the subtle work, as it were, in the subtle region. And so if we understand them and understand their current role, we will be able to step up on a more subtle platform in order to do the Mansa Seva that Baba is telling us. And Mansa Seva is not just the mind. Mansa Seva would be, you know, the whole soul. And just for your information, Disney World is bringing out a movie that is going to be in June, and it is called Soul. And it is talking about what the soul is, according to their understanding. So it's very fascinating that when I say push the boundaries of consciousness, is push it out of the mind and work with the whole soul and work with soul conscious, that life, that whole, you know, life force of soul consciousness connected to Baba. And so I think that that's what Sister Mohini is also reminding us of. And now what she's doing, she's moved into be angelic and serve from the angelic stage. So I think she wants us to stop the grossness of the caterpillar and to inculcate the refinedness of the butterfly. And for that, we need to be serious about our connection to Baba. And you know, the question is, when I sit to remember Baba, how much of my intellect is wandering to other things? And how much am I really, truly in Baba's remembrance? And you know, if you notice in all the murdis, keep your chart, ask yourself these questions, Why? It's because we're wasting time. We're wasting time being extroverts. And now is the time to be introvert. What is COVID-19 telling us? You know, some people say that it's an invisible enemy, but it's not an enemy. It's a messenger. And it's a messenger of compulsion. It's compelling us to do the things that Baba had told us to do by choice. And so now we have moved away. I mean, it's like the too late board is coming up, because we've moved away from choice, and now we're having to do things by compulsion. And it's as simple as that. So it's like our last chance to refine our souls and to really be available to serve people at a different level, because the internet will crash.
Exactly.
Will crash. And so then what? You and I won't be able to meet on Zoom, and I won't be able to meet everybody else here on Zoom. So that's the end of us? No, it's not. It won't be the end of us if we refine our stages and become more avyakt and become more angelic and become more refined and operate more from the wholeness of soul consciousness. So that's what we're doing here. I don't know what y'all are doing there, but this is what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's obviously in the similar lines only.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a very good. I could relate what Didi is been saying, and y'all have been taking the classes. That to reconnect to the Yagya souls is to understand the work they have been doing for the reconstruction of the new world. So
Yes.
it's very wonderful. So therefore, we here also, I am sure you must be knowing, in ORC also they are doing the same every day 1 hour during the day to reconnect with the ancestor souls of the Yajna.
Right.
So that's been doing.
Yeah, Sister Muni does that in the evening, but at 12 midday every day, we do special yoga for serving the country, serving the world
Okay.
at 12 o'clock, you know,
Hello.
anyone. Yeah, because a lot of people call, this one is sick, that one is sick, this one is going through this one lost their job, you know, do yoga for them. So from 12 to 12:30, we just do yoga for everyone who wants help.
Okay. Yeah, that from 12 to 12:30. Sheetalban was saying every
Yes.
week.
Yes. And also there is, you have to be very careful that we do our yoga, because what is happening, there's a lot of mental illness that's resulting from the anxiety of a future that we don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, they say here, what they say is that we have the anger because of the past things we've done. So we're angry with our past. We have a fear of the future, so that's anxiety. We're angry with our past, that's depression. And the present is full of grief and sadness. And that all adds up to mental health. And what we have to do now is to really cleanse ourselves from the anxiety and the depression and the grief and the sadness, and keep ourselves safe and protected on the Baba's canopy.
So it's really very wonderful and inspiring also. And very much thankful to you to have spent this crucial time, in the sense particularly the night for you.
I know it's 11 in the night for me now, so I should really be saying goodbye. Om Shanti. Nice seeing all of you.
Yeah. So I was earlier when I called you, I felt I was hesitant to call you at this hour. Maybe in the evening, how can we have a interactive? I felt I should tell you to do it in YouTube and we'll hear it. But since you agreed so happily, so I really thank you very much to have agreed you at this hour also, in the 11th hour also. So heartfelt thanks to you. Okay, and
you know, Sangeeta, I had a very close relationship with Dada Gopal. And I also had a very good relationship with Shanti Ben.
Yeah.
And of course, if Geeta Ben is there, please give her lots of love from me. And so if that, you know, if Shrifort asked me to do something, I cannot say no. Because I feel I'm saying no to these people who are foundational to my spiritual growth. And so I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's very much connected. The whole family, even with the spiritual progress, spiritual knowledge also, Sri Fort has been very much connected with it.
Right. And Shanti Ben used to come to New York almost every year, and she had a very special role, but also a very special place in our hearts.
Exactly.
So even now, when anyone, just the other day, one of the students is not so well, and she said, you know what? I dreamt Sister Shanti last night. So she's another one that is still sustaining many people. She said, I dreamt Sister Shanti. She came and she made me feel better. So Sister Shanti is doing service at a different level now,
Yeah, she has been very much connected, more than even I think so Delhi IT, she was connected with the New York's Brahmins.
Yes, she was.
She would feel so comfortable being there for a year. She would miss it in the last days, she told.
Yes, she was here just before she passed,
Yeah.
So thank you so much and love to everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I hope to see you soon now after when the Baba season comes. It's been long. After 2013, you didn't come after Shanti.
No, but let me see if they would let us back into your country, right? They're getting us all out, but nobody can go in. So it's just a one-way traffic right now. But of course, let's see what drama has and, you know, where we will be and what we will do. It's all in the hands of Baba.
Yeah, Om Shanti, okay. Bhavnavan wants to
just... Bye-bye.
Wants to just...
Om Shanti. Om Shanti Gayatri Pen, your Baba's powerful and chosen instrument who are making an impact at the global level through your seva at the UN. And you are the instrument who is uniting different cultures, countries, beliefs, faiths into one universal inclusive consciousness, which is the essence of Baba's knowledge, of course. And thank you for sharing with us such an inspiring and motivational journey. We look forward to seeing you at the Siriport and GK2 family again.
I will come. So, what's your name?
Bhavna.
You're Bhavna. Okay. Yes. So thank you for those words. And who is Sapna? Let me see Sapna's face.
Sapna Ben, she is... Sapna Ben, she's there. Yeah, Bhavna Ben.
What it called me earlier.
She's not on video. Yeah.
She's not on video. Okay.
She connects each one of us and then she does some other seva, then she comes back.
Oh, so now we know. She connects us, but she doesn't want to hear anything. Okay, so good night.
At this moment, she's not there. She was here. She was there.
So good night to everyone. So it's morning for you. So good morning to everyone. Have a wonderful day and stay safe and stay protected and don't take any risks.
Yes, thank you very much. Good night to you then.
Good night.
Shanti.
Bye-bye. Oh,
And
Shanti.
also met